Welcome to The Explainer. You ever wonder why some people who make a really good salary are always stressed about money? Well, today we're diving deep into something called the wealth trap. It's this illusion that having a big paycheck automatically makes you rich. We're going to see how two people with the exact same salary can end up on two totally different financial paths. One road leads to freedom, the other to constant stress. All right, let's get right into it. Meet Mike and David. Now, on paper, these guys are basically the same person. They work at the same company, they're the same age, and they both pull in a respectable $80,000 a year. But here's where it gets interesting. Their day-to-day lives couldn't be more different. Mike, he looks the part, He's got the fancy car, the designer clothes, but underneath it all, he's a ball of stress. And then there's David. He's way more low-key. Older car, simple clothes, but he's completely, totally secure. The cracks in Mike's whole I'm rich act, they start to show in the smallest moments. Just picture this. You're in a coffee shop, it's your turn to pay, and as the cashier swipes your card, you're literally holding your breath, just praying it goes through. That's Mike's life. It's this tiny little moment of panic that's actually a huge red flag for a much, much bigger problem. And that bigger problem, it blows up when a pretty minor emergency strikes. His air conditioner dies. It's a $500 fixed, which, is annoying but shouldn't be a catastrophe. For Mike, though, it might as well be $5,000. And the worst part? He just got his paycheck, but the money is already gone. This is the exact moment his friend David realizes something is seriously, seriously wrong, and he decides to let Mike in on the 5 secret rules that completely turned his own life around. So this brings us right to the heart of the matter, the great wealth illusion. It's this idea we all kind of have that if you have a high income, you must be wealthy. But as we're about to see, that is just not how it works. So let's get into the very first secret to breaking free from this trap. Okay, so David's first rule is the absolute bedrock for everything else, and he calls it the ghost tax. It's a really simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful because it just flips the whole way you think about saving completely on its head. The idea is pretty brilliant, really. You basically trick your own brain. You just pretend that a new invisible tax has been created. But here's the twist. This tax payment doesn't go to the government. Nope. It goes straight into your own investment and savings accounts. And the reason it works so well is that it takes willpower completely out of the equation. So here's how it works in real life. The secret sauce is automation. The second David's paycheck hits his account, an automatic transfer whisks a set amount, let's say $1,000, into a totally separate account. He never even sees it in his main checking account. So he just naturally learns to live on whatever's left over. It's classic out of sight, out of mind, and most importantly, out of temptation. All right, so once you've got that automatic saving system humming along, the next phase is all about defense. These next 2 rules are designed to help you get control over your spending and really to build a financial fortress that can protect you from all the curveballs life is going to throw at you. Oh man, this is such a classic trap, and Mike falls for it every time. He's totally driven by the psychology of getting a deal. He sees a watch that was $600, now it's $300, and his brain gives him this little rush, making him think he just saved $300. But David points out the hard truth. You didn't save $300. You spent $300 you didn't have on something you didn't even need. So to fight that exact impulse, David uses his second rule, the 72-hour test. It's basically a mandatory cooling off period for any non-essential purchase over a certain limit, say $100. It's specifically designed to create a gap between that emotional impulse and the actual purchase. And the process itself is so simple. You see something you want? Great. Add it to your online cart or just make a note of it. And then, this is the important part, you walk away for 3 whole days. And what you'll find is that, more often than not, when you come back 72 hours later, that initial I gotta have it feeling is just gone. And you realize, I don't really need that after all. Now we get to rule number 3, and this one might just be the most important one for your mental health. David calls it his Sleep Well Fund, and that name is perfect. See, this isn't an investment he's trying to get rich off of. It's a safety net designed to keep him from becoming poor. Its real return on investment is freedom from anxiety. The goal here is to have at least 3 months of your core living expenses stashed away in a separate account that's easy to get to. Think of it like your personal insurance policy against chaos, a broken AC, a surprise medical bill, or even losing your job. It's the buffer that stands between you and having to rely on high-interest debt when life just happens. And this is the real payoff of that fund. It's peace of mind. You've got Mike lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, his mind just racing with what ifs. What if the car breaks down? What if this bill is higher than I thought? And then you have David. He sleeps like a baby. Not because nothing will ever go wrong, but because he's prepared for it. He has a plan. He has a buffer. Okay, so with those defensive rules locked in, we can finally switch over to offense. The last two rules are all about avoiding the biggest traps that destroy wealth, and then the fun part, actively making your money work for you, so you don't have to work so hard for it. David explains Rule 4 with this really powerful idea. See, carrying a balance on a credit card that's charging you 20% interest, that's not just debt. He calls it a reverse investment. While you're hoping your investments grow, your debt is growing at maybe double or triple that speed. You're literally paying someone else's company for the privilege of going backwards financially. It's wild when you think about it like that. And this leads us to the final and honestly the most exciting rule of them all. Make your money your employee. Think about it this way. Mike's dollars are lazy. They're just sitting in a bank account with practically zero interest, basically watching TV on the sofa and losing a little bit of their value to inflation every single day. David's dollars, on the other hand, well, they put on a little suit every morning and go to work for him in things like index funds and other investments. And here's the cold, hard proof of that philosophy. Last year, David's little army of dollar employees earned him an extra $5,000 in passive income. That's money he made while he was sleeping, while he was on vacation, without lifting a finger. And Mike's lazy dollars? They earned him a big fat zero. That's the power of putting your money to work.
So, what does all of this actually look like in the long run? I mean, these rules and choices, they can seem kind of small on a day-to-day basis. But when you let them compound over time, the results are just staggering. So let's hit the fast forward button and see where Mike and David are 5 years from now.
5 years down the road, Mike is still trying to look rich, but now he's drowning in $20,000 of high-interest credit card debt. His financial stress is through the roof. David, on the other hand, who's just been quietly and consistently following these 5 rules, well, he just put a down payment on his dream house. The difference was never, ever about their salary. It was about their system. So it all boils down to this. Looking rich is an expense. Being rich is a discipline. It's built on a foundation of small, consistent, and usually pretty invisible choices that you make every single day. It has so little to do with how much you make and everything to do with what you do with it. So the only real question left is, which path are you going to choose?